It's not the standpoint is that this is how it's done. It's just that the car is limiting options, and so we're having to pick the best option inside of the limited options that we have for getting it done. So it's not like oh, through all your worldly experience and all of the engineering skills, like this is how it's done. It's simply the car is mandating these are your options, and so it's like that's part of the story that needs to be told. There absolutely is rocket science behind manifold design, but none being used here. This is all packaging related. Also, as being forced induction, it's like our goal is to maintain as much heat and pressure behind the turbo so we can spin it as fast as possible to create more boost. And on an A motor, it's like there's a measure of efficiency and power creation due to the draw or the vacuum from one cylinder, one pulse leaving the collector as the exhaust valve opens on another one to start causing scavenging effect or draw. So a naturally aspirated and a forced induction motor have radically different needs when it comes to exhaust manifolds. Every cylinder on one motor, front cylinder, back cylinder, middle cylinder, they all have different requirements both on the intake runner, on fuel delivery. I mean, even timing per cylinder even can be slightly different. And then you'd think they would all be the same, but ultimately they all run slightly different. Their demands for where they are in the engine and to create the optimum output out of each cylinder is this one might need to be 36, this one 32, this one 34.3. It's like they all have different needs. So an equal length is a way to kind of produce, try and smooth everything out, but it's not optimum for each cylinder. There is genuinely an optimum length for each cylinder, but that's also affected by the camshaft, the RPM, the temperature it runs at, the fuel that's being consumed, all these things. So like a tuned set of headers ultimately requires a massive amount of effort to develop what that tune is, then what's right for the header, then after you got the right headers on it, how it affects the tune again. So it's like really eking out every last little percent of horsepower is a really elaborate and time-consuming, ultimately expensive process. So equal lengths are nice, but they're not exactly tuned.
Okay.
So, So anytime you have any amount of material, the hotter everything, as it gets hotter and it gets excited, then it'll start to expand, it gets bigger.
Right.
So when we have a bunch of tubes on a flange or a plate and it's pushing on it, everything will get longer, longer, longer. So try and stop the tubes, which are only so long, and they may be at different angles, so it's caused one from pushing away from the other, breaking or cracking a weld or a joint or something like that. If we have ones that we feel like might cause problems with the rest of the pipes, it's like we can use this bellow. And so this right here, this type of bellow allows for really just linear motion out and in. And so any of the thermal expansion or contraction can happen in the bellow rather than stressing the material or the welds or causing something to bend or fail. So it just allows the header to have a sealed, flexible joint. And so on this motor, without doing just tons and tons of research on it, the factory uses one on both of the end primaries on it. And there's a lot of material here to get big. The more material, the more expansion you're going to have, the more stress you're going to put on all the weld joints. And so without finding out if that is just literally because of the way the pipes are put in or if it's due to the mass, I'm going to go ahead and replicate what they've done from the factory. At least I'm planning to right now. just because I don't know how much heat it really produces. I don't know if there's a harmonic issue with it, and so it's really a preventative measure. I don't know if I'm going to run one before I get to the turbo. We have an option to, which really takes all the weight off of the header, or just use the ones on the primaries, which really just saves the header. Like I said, it's not a for sure, we just have those options. Where are we going to end up? How are we going to end the story? Where's the cutoff point? So you're always working to the end.
Right.
Because if it's all the way to fire up, there's a lot of stories in between. It's a long